Introducing the all-new 251 electric range at Hugo Luna Motors. See our Peugeot E2008, now available in electric. This bold SUV boasts a striking design with sleek LED headlamps and a redesigned grille for a powerful presence. With zero CO2 emissions and 156 HP of power, the E2008 delivers efficiency and performance. Discover more at hugolunamotors.ie. Drive the future today.
Saturday View. With thanks to Lumcloon Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. lumcloonenergy.com. Call 0818 300 103. Text or WhatsApp your Saturday View to 083 3010 103.
Hello and a good morning to you all. It's Saturday, I'm Ronan Berry, and it is time for a Saturday View here on Midlands 103. So coming up between now and 11, you're going to meet a newly elected TD for one of the Midlands constituencies. We'll get a chance to examine what the first 108 days have been like since the 34th Dáil for SAT back on the 18th of December. What are the key issues that they brought to the electorate, to the voters in their constituency, and what progress has been made on those, because a lot has happened in it all, or you could even argue maybe hasn't happened. So much drama over speaking rights and a vote of confidence on the Ceann Comhairle, and that and so much more at a critical time for the country when, you know, we hear in the news there of tariffs already being put in place and being imposed days after Donald Trump's so-called Liberation Day. So we'll have a nice discussion around that and just see kind of what is happening up in the Dáil and what's happening here locally in the Midlands too. Also, the Department of Housing has suggested that about 7,000 above shop units could be, you know, relatively easily converted into units, housing units for people, you know, to help alleviate the extreme housing crisis that's out there at present. Now, the Irish Hardware Association of Ireland, the Hardware Association of Ireland, they've suggested that figure could be about 20,000 units, but there's actually some great working examples here in the Midlands. In Portlaoise in particular, over 250 over-the-shop units have already been brought back into circulation thanks to a strategy there by Laois County Council. So we'll get the opinion of Pat David, the CEO of IPAV, that's the Institute of Professional Auctioneers and Valuers, on that and see what the potential is, how many properties could be brought back into the market, how easily might that be done, or indeed, what are the challenges that are lying ahead? Is it planning? Is it materials? Is it access to these buildings? Is it ownership? Or is it something that really we need to just kind of rip that plaster and start on straight away? So we'll examine all that throughout the show. But this morning, and you might have heard Aidan say it, this month is Parkinson's Awareness Month, and Parkinson's Ireland are an organisation that are really at the forefront of helping people and families deal with Parkinson's disease, and particularly, you know, for loved ones who might be living with the illness. And a quick look at their website, and indeed the sister site walkinthepark.ie kind of lays it out there pretty quickly. It says Parkinson's disease is the fastest growing neurological condition, with numbers set to double in the country by 2040. It says approximately 18,000 people in Ireland are currently living with Parkinson's, and we need to help. You know, they're looking for help for people to continue to provide support and assistance to those with Parkinson's disease. Well, the Offaly branch of Parkinson's Ireland was set up a couple of years ago, and Jean Durkin joins me now. And it's what is a very busy morning for Jean. More about that in a second. But Jean, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Ronan. Thank you for having me on. Not
all, Jean. I know it's a busy morning. There's a walk taking place at 11 a.m. this morning, one in the Lloydtown Park in Offaly as well. Maybe just give people an overview of that, and we'll speak more about the Offaly branch then in a couple of moments.
Okay, the Walk in the Park is a national fundraiser for Parkinson's Ireland, and any funds raised, half stay locally and the other half go to the national organisation for the provision of services for people with Parkinson's. Any money raised is spent only on people with Parkinson's, and that's one of our stipulations. So the more people, I suppose, we have coming this morning, which is a beautiful morning here in Tullamore, a little bit windy, but by 11 I'm sure it will be a lot warmer. The walk is on from 11 until 12 with a cup of tea afterwards in the Central Hotel. Our numbers, well, I can go on and tell you about what's happened in our branch now. We were set up about 2.5 years ago. There were no services for people with Parkinson's in the Midlands, well, within Offaly at that stage, and our numbers have gradually increased over those 2 years. At the moment, we provide a gym session in the S&C gym once a week for our members, and also a boxing exercise once a week as well. Exercise is the most important thing that has been found in the last 20 years or so to help delay the progression of Parkinson's. So a walk in the park is very apt as a fundraiser for Parkinson's or people with Parkinson's. You can do as much as walking as you like or as little, and so everybody is included.
Yeah, it's but many people listening mightn't say automatically associate Parkinson's disease and then with exercise in terms of trying to kind of slow down the onset of that. Is the age at which somebody is diagnosed with Parkinson's then, is that obviously critical in that scenario? And as modern testing maybe allowed people to kind of find that diagnosis earlier and begin to try and take action to prevent the onset?
Well, yes and no. I think people have maybe mild symptoms for a long time before they progress, and things like stiffness, rigidity, tremor, and a sort of a stooped walk are kind of typical symptoms of people with Parkinson's. However, by the time your symptoms are noticeable, 70% of the cells that produce the dopamine, which is the thing that's lost in Parkinson's, has gone. So early diagnosis can be complicated by other non-motor symptoms as well. So it takes some time before diagnosis is made. There are young onset. There are people with young onset Parkinson's, so that would be under the age of 50, but it's more common in older people, and over 80 has a 1 in 100 chance, I think, of having some Parkinsonian symptoms.
And I noticed the website says that there are over 40 symptoms that are known at the minute too. So there's some kind of less well-known symptoms that maybe people, might be no harm to kind of be vigilant of. Can you take us through what some of those might be? And again, if somebody does suspect maybe themselves or a loved one may have Parkinson's, how they can go about getting that diagnosed and then getting in touch with organisations like your own?
I think some of the things like that you wouldn't associate might be shoulder pain is one. Sometimes you can have it years before that, and it can be investigated as an orthopedic problem, but it's showing up as some of the symptoms. The other ones are, say, restless legs syndrome, where your legs don't stay quiet, particularly in bed at night, and it can interfere with sleep. Sleep disturbance is another one. You can have constipation. They would be sort of a lot of the common ones. Other things you might notice would be your handwriting getting smaller, your voice getting lower. So they would be the most obvious ones, I suppose, in the early stages. But like that, because there are so many symptoms, everybody's experience of Parkinson's is different. And that's one of the things that they're trying to promote as well, that each person with Parkinson's is different from everybody else due to the number of symptoms that can occur.
So therefore, creating a community of people is of huge importance. You meet once a month as part of the Offaly branch too. That, I guess, the social and emotional aspect of on that Parkinson's journey is a critical part of it too.
Yes, definitely. The social aspect is very important, particularly because some of the symptoms are very obvious, and it may deter people from socialising outside of their family or even within their family, and so they withdraw a lot from society. But when you meet other people, as with all support groups, seeing and meeting others with the same condition certainly helps and supports and gives you confidence. Our meetings are once a month, as you said, in the Charleville Centre, and we tend to have an educational speaker on aspects of Parkinson's or things like the Family Carers Association have spoken to us, or the speech and language, occupational therapy and physiotherapy people have also come and spoken to us.
And do you find too with having a local branch, does it help people then maybe go and seek support, or at least make that inquiry if they have a concern about Parkinson's disease?
At the moment, most people come to us when they have their diagnosis and seek support that way. You can access whatever you feel is appropriate to you. It may be just the educational talks once a month, or it may be some form of exercise, but the advice there is to start your exercise as early as possible and delay the progression.
Absolutely. Well, today's event, as you kind of said, is exactly, it's a great, you really are putting into practice of organising the walk. So it's taking place starting in Lloydtown Park in Tullamore at 11 a.m. Anybody can come along. You don't need to register, do you? You can just turn up on the morning and take part.
Just turn up in the morning and enjoy a walk for as long or as short as you want. It's a great facility in Lloydtown Park, and it's very central. So we'd be delighted to meet anybody who's available or would like a walk.
Absolutely. Well, Jean Durkin from the Offaly branch of Parkinson's Ireland, thank you so much this morning. I'll let you go because I know you're getting ready there to prep for that walk, but a glorious morning, and I'm sure there'll be a huge turnout as well. Thanks, Jean.
Thank you, Ronan. Thank you. Bye-bye.
That's Jean Durkin there from the Offaly branch of Parkinson's Ireland. And if you want more information on that, a walk in the park for Parkinson's, they have a website set up, walkinthepark.ie. You can find all the information and see there might be an event that's nearer to you or closer to where you live that you might want to check out and join in as well. But lots of options there online to register for a walk if you wish, or find out where they're taking place, or indeed donate to Parkinson's Ireland. But a great morning, so maybe a nice morning to get out and join members of your community there in a walk like that. So time for me to take a quick break. After that, you're going to meet a new TD for a Midlands constituency. Before that, though, I must say that this morning marks the end of my Saturday View journey. This will be my last show in the hot seat, but we have a fantastic person lined up to take over, grab the steering wheel from next Saturday morning. I'll tell you more about that towards the end of the show.
Saturday View, with thanks to Lumcloon Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. LumcloonEnergy.com.
Still to come on Saturday View this morning, we'll be looking at the feasibility of converting overshop units into housing. So far in Portlaoise, over 250 units have been brought back into the housing market, and the Hardware Association of Ireland suggests that up to 20,000 units could undergo similar renovations. The Department of Housing has said it's around 7,000. So later on we'll talk to Pat David from IPAV and get a sense of maybe what the possibilities are, where the challenges might lie, or trying to determine what's stopping us from doing that and who needs to get behind it and how. So that's all coming up here on Saturday View. But before that, I'm going to introduce you to Tony McCormack, TD for the Offaly constituency, who was first elected to Dáil back at the end of November of last year. So at this point, about 108 days, I think he has been a TD officially, because the 34th Dáil first met on the 18th of December last year. Tony joins me in studio now. Good morning, Deputy McCormack.
Good morning, Ronan, and good morning to your listeners.
Tony, I suppose you were well known locally as a county councillor here in Offaly County Council, a former Cathaoirleach of the council too. You put on the jersey to run for the Dáil to run for government back late last year as well. But first, you're wearing a very different jersey this morning.
Oh, I was out doing a bit of cycling before I came in, I suppose. Look, when you're in the Dáil, and trying to get back doing a bit of training, when you're in the Dáil, it's kind of very sedentary. You're sitting down, you're at meetings, you're going into the Dáil to vote, you're at another meeting, you're going across then maybe to meet somebody else. So you're always kind of waiting around, and you don't really have time to do anything physical exercise wise. So I'm trying to get back in, I suppose, more for my mental health and for my physical well-being than anything else. But it's something that I'm passionate about. I've been involved in many sports over the years, and most recently I've been involved with the local triathlon club. So I was out with the triathlon club this morning with the beginners group, and let me tell you, they were an awful lot faster than me. So I have a lot of work to do even to catch up with the beginners group at the moment.
No bother to you. And look, at the first steps of getting back into it too is always the hard bit as well.
Always the hard
I suppose that's an interesting place to start, I think, because when you're elected, when you're successful at election, you get elected to the Dáil begins to sit. Must be a huge change in your whole life, your home life, your working life, and just adapting to that schedule and being almost on call 24/7.
Yeah, well, look, being a councillor was a great kind of training for it, because councillor, I think, is probably one of the most underestimated jobs in Irish politics. It's It's a full-time job with a part-time wage. It's 24/7, 365. And when I say 365, I mean Christmas Day as well. Being a TD is very, very similar, but you have more responsibility because you're looking after the whole county as opposed to just the Tullamore Municipal District in which I operated in as a councillor. It can become very overwhelming because you're very humbled by the amount of votes that you get in order to get elected. So when you sit down after the whole election process and you sit there and you think, my God, I'm so humbled by the amount of votes I got. I promised that I would do so much for these people. I want to now repay their trust that they put in me, and it becomes overwhelming. But I suppose when you sit back and look at it and you talk to other TDs that have been there for a while, you realise that you can't get everything done all at once, that you have to pick out and prioritise maybe 5 or 6 things that you'll get done that are very, very important, that you'll get done for your county in your first term. And you have to prioritise. And it's like everything. It's like how to eat an elephant, one bite at a time. And it's the same thing in it all. You have to prioritise, pick what you want to get done. Obviously, you get other stuff done as well, but you make sure that you get the main things done by the end of the term of the government.
So you can have your list of priorities and key objectives, and then stuff can happen. Things
Absolutely.
like, say, certain individual comes out on Tuesday and announces tariffs for nearly every country, including an island with only penguins or something for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that shortly. But those original priorities, I think, that you spoke about on your first day were job creation, disability services, farming and road infrastructure. So 4 kind of big, substantial areas in their own right too. From a job creation perspective, Offaly has been, relatively full employment for quite a while now, kind of slightly bucking the national trend really in terms of employment. Where are the opportunities for Offaly? Or where are the challenges coming from? Because I know there's been a few announcements over the last 6 months of job losses.
Yeah, well, I suppose, opportunities. Like, we have here in Tullamore, we have an IDA park. The IDA park is full, albeit for the Cardinal Health facility, which is on a wind down. But I would be very, very hopeful that IDA would be able to get a client to move into that fairly quickly after the closure in May or June of next year, because it's a very well located plant. It's a medical device company. It's beside sterilisation. So if you're a medical device company looking at Ireland to locate, you're looking to see where you're going to get the product sterilised. You have Steris on your doorstep. It's also a plant that's been well maintained. So there's investment have gone into it in the last number of years. So it's in very, very good condition. And you also have a very skilled workforce. So for a medical device company in America or anywhere else in the world that needs to locate in Ireland to do business with Europe, that particular unit is very, very very, very attractive to them.
Will it be an attractive facility for an American company, or would it have the events of the last week maybe made it more attractive to somebody from a different part of the world? And I know there's a huge amount of unknowns and uncertainties.
This is the thing. We don't know what way this thing is going to pan out. We just have to sit back, hold our nerve and see where it goes. I was delighted to see that Europe are just sitting back to look at the whole thing, to see how it's going to unfold. Because while everybody has been hit with tariffs, with products going into the United States, there's no point in us at the moment hitting America with tariffs and goods coming in from America here, because all we're going to do is create inflation. At the moment, the European economy, certain countries like Germany and France and some of the big economies in Europe are suffering. And we need low interest rates because we need investment in infrastructure. We need investment in companies. We need investment in jobs. And in order for that to happen, you have to have cheap money, and the interest rates are on the way down at the moment. If we start putting tariffs on, inflation will go up. We'll have to increase the interest rates to slow down inflation. So we need to box very, very clever here. And maybe a reactionary tariff to the American ones may not be the right way to go, but only time will tell. You asked me about the challenges here with regards to jobs. I believe the IDA said about 40% of the jobs that they were expecting to get this year here have not come here because of the uncertainty. One thing companies need to have is certainty when they're locating somewhere. We're lucky here that we have a track record of being able to look after. We're lucky here that we've had a stable government for all of those years. We're also lucky that we have a very, very talented workforce. We're lucky that we're English speaking, and we're lucky then as well that we're the first island that you hit on the way to Europe. So we're a foothold for those companies to do business in Europe. All of that stands to us, and that won't change. That's going to stay the same. We just have to box clever now and make sure that we take advantage of whatever opportunities come our way in the near future. You know, as you said yourself, President Trump may decide to lessen those tariffs, or maybe may decide to take them away altogether. At the moment, he said he's not going to change his mind. We'll just have to watch this space and see what happens.
Told us before St. Patrick's Day he wasn't going to hurt Ireland, and look, you couldn't. I think now it's hard to believe much that comes out of his mouth sometimes.
And you spoke there as well about the fact that we have near full employment in the Midlands, which is fantastic, absolutely super. But we have so many people, our sons and daughters, that have moved to Dublin or Galway or Cork, and they would like to come back and live in the Midlands. And I suppose for our towns and villages, we need those people to come back in to create the footfall that we need to revitalise those towns and villages. So in order to get them back, we need to be able to, number one, provide jobs, number two, provide housing. And I think in Offaly at the moment, especially around the Tullamore area, we're in a good position. We have about 700 houses being built in Tullamore at the moment. We have another 700 that are either have planning permission or ready to start. And then I would think in the pipeline, from talking to developers and what have you, there's another 700 on top. That's about 2,400 houses in the next 18 months to 2 years. That will allow people that are working in Dublin, instead of having to pay high rents or a huge mortgage in Dublin, come and buy a house here in Tullamore, or it'll allow our own people that are here living in the area to be able to purchase a house. And then obviously we have the social element too as well. There are a lot of people on the council housing list that need to be looked after. That will put a huge dent in that as well.
You're somebody who has been involved in local business all your career too, many businesses under your hat currently with Print Plus, but you were also involved in the Offaly Innovation Centre, or the Junction as people might know it. You were part of the Offaly Local Development Company board, so obviously small business, SMEs, those indigenous companies, so an area of passion for you as well. In terms of creating more jobs or creating more opportunities in those sectors, and even like those employers that maybe might have 10 or 50 employees, a huge part of the fabric of any county as well, is enough being done for those, or what can government do maybe that would really, really just kind of encourage people in, or indeed come those people back into the Midlands? No,
and absolutely, you're right. I have a huge passion. I would have come from a retail background, from family home, Terrell stores there in O'Moore Street in Tullamore, and I would have grown up there. And I remember my granny, who was a mentor of mine, and she said to me, all you need is a yard of counter to do business. And you know how true it was. Nowadays, all you need is a computer to do business. You don't even need the yard of counter. But I suppose looking at business over the years, it has changed completely from the way it's been done to now with technology that's available and what have you. But in saying that, we need to think outside the box, and we need to try and revitalise our town centres. That's a huge passion of mine, because I look at the likes of Tullamore, I look at Burr, I look at Edenderry, I look at Clara, I look at Banagher, I look at all of those towns that were very, very busy and thriving in the past. They're all quiet, they've empty shop units, they're not as busy as like the businesses in it aren't thriving, they're surviving. We need them to be able to thrive. So I'll be going to government, I'll be going to the Minister for Enterprise, and I'll be asking him to sit down and come up with policies that will help those businesses to survive and thrive. But also, as well as that, to be able to attract more businesses into town centres and to think outside the box. You know, at the moment, while we have shop units filled, it seems to be a lot of the same type of shop units. We need to create an experience in our town centres, as opposed to having shop units that are all kind of repetitive.
You just said yourself, maybe you could swap the yard of counter space for an online space. Now, we live at a time where, you know, the things that used to bring people into towns to go to the bank, to, you know, maybe buy stuff, even do your grocery shop and pick up, can pretty much all be done online now. So what is that experience like? What would, you know, we on this show over the past 14 months, we've spoken quite a lot about isolation and loneliness and people needing to get back out and get together. What's the experience you think that will bring people, make people say, you know what, I have an hour to spare, let's get in the car or let's just walk into town? People, I think, sometimes have forgotten that little art, that kind of downtime or something.
As I said, we have to think outside the box. We have to be able to provide subsidies. We have to be able to look at rates and whether companies are able to, and businesses are able to afford to pay rates at the rates that are being charged at the moment. I myself personally think they need to be reduced, and they need to be reduced by at least 50% in order for business to be able to survive. That's number one. Number two, I think all the ideas. Like, what is a shopping centre? And I suppose shopping centres are being built in different parts of the country, and they bring huge amounts of people from their areas into that one particular. Why is that? Because they create an experience there. They go in there, you can shop, but you have a variety of shops to shop in. You also have food, and you have a variety of places to go and eat. You also have things for kids. And I think that's what we need to do in a town centre. What is a shopping centre? Only a streetscape with a roof over it. We have the streetscape, we just don't have the roof over it. Now, I did advocate years ago for a roof,
thinking that, all right, yeah.
to roof part of the town in order to create a kind of a shopping centre feel to it. But we should be able to do something similar with our town centres, and that's what I'll be going to talk to the Minister about, to try and come up with some sort of a scheme that will take all of that into consideration, but put money, back it with money, and do a pilot project. And I'll be looking for do a pilot project in Offaly, because I think we have town centres here that used to be very, very busy. In fact, I would have said Tullamore was the service capital to the Midlands at one stage. We're not anymore. I'd love to see us back there.
Really. The whole area of infrastructure, you've kind of just touched on it briefly, but it's another part that you said, as in your early Dáil kind of address, that road infrastructure was a huge part. This again has hit the news, say close to Tullamore again, the N52 Kilbeggan Road, it's been constantly in and out of the news for the past 5 or 10 years. I know it personally as somebody who drops 2 kids to school there every day.
Yeah.
I know firsthand what the road is like and how dangerous not just the junction to school is, but other junctions are. Infrastructure, supposed to speak to us about the road, the N52. I know you met Minister Darragh O'Brien last week about this.
Yeah, so the N52 link road is something that I would have campaigned for everybody in Tullamore, but most particularly for the people of Durrow and the people that use that school every day. Because, as you said yourself, Ronan, going up there and negotiating the high road junction in the mornings and in the afternoons is taking your life and the life of your kids into your own hands. It's also, there's a church there. Older people go to mass, people go for christenings and funerals, other events. There's a creche up there. There's also then the people just coming that live up there that are coming onto the main road to go to work every day and to come home in the evening. So it's really, really, it's over capacity. There's 19,000 vehicular movements every day. It's way over capacity, and it's grown at about 5% a year. So I went to the Minister. We had already gone and we spoke to Micheál Martin when he was Taoiseach. We spoke to the Junior Minister in Transport, Jack Chambers, who was in charge of road safety. We also spoke to James Lawless while he was Junior Minister for Transport. We got a good hearing off them all, and unfortunately it was the Minister for Transport, Eamon Ryan, who had the final call on it and just never put the funding into it. But I had a very, very positive meeting with Minister Darragh O'Brien here last week, and I would be very hopeful that we'll hear some good news on that very, very soon.
And that's to try and get funding to get the initial study done, get designs and try and get it. Like, it's still going to be a longer term project though, isn't that the...
Yeah, well, I suppose if we got to start that in the morning and everything back onto the roads programme in the morning, it will be 2032 to 33 before it would actually be built. Now, there are some road safety measures being put in the near future that will slow the traffic down, will make it easier to negotiate that junction. But there are other reasons why we need it. The road safety is one aspect of it. You also have the Durrow High Cross Committee, who want to build an interpretive centre to showcase St. Columkill and the monastic history that Durrow has. I suppose in monastic history, Durrow will be one of the most important sites right across the world. And they want to build an interpretive centre. They can't do that until we get that new road. You also have the Chamber of Commerce here locally, who've been told by the IDA they need to build that road in order for us to attract more direct investment into the town. As we spoke about earlier, we have a full IDA park at the moment. I've been campaigning. I spoke to the IDA that we need another park here in Tullamore, but we also need another IDA park in Burr and in Edenderry, so as that we have balanced growth right across the county, not just in one particular area, but balanced growth across the county.
And again, like 2 major towns with a proven track record of innovation, entrepreneurship. Absolutely. As well. Yeah. From a county perspective, infrastructurally, are there other areas that are lacking then? Like, is it feasible to deliver an IDA park in 2 other towns like that? Have we got, given that, the amount of, I suppose, renewable energy being produced in this county too, like, and I know there are ambitious plans by companies like Bord na Móna and even organisations like the Road Green Energy Plan over there that are looking at developing infrastructure and energy and maybe even like potential for data centres and stuff like that. How is Offaly's fixed at the minute to deliver those?
We're in a really good space with regards to all that. And as you said yourself, the Road Green Energy Park over there, Offaly County Council working with Bord na Móna to make sure that happens. Data centres, Amazon. So all of this is very, very positive. Like Offaly County Council are building a green energy hub here in Tullamore, an innovation hub, a green energy innovation hub, which will allow companies that are starting up in the whole green energy sphere to be able to get in there and to work with each other and to, I suppose, small companies in the one area will network with each other and they will help each other and there will be incubation of ideas and hopefully they will turn into bigger businesses that will create many jobs here in the county for us. But that's only one thing. We've also got, look, I suppose, as tourism. Tourism, Offaly has been untapped for tourism for many, many years. We have Clonmacnoise, we have Doro, if we could get that interpreter centre built there. We have Tullamore Dew and the whole history behind that and the fantastic building and the tour that they have out there. We have the canals and the greenways, fantastic. Castle, Loch Bura. So there's so much that we have to offer. We need to get out there and market and bring people in here. And again, the tourism market, as I said to you, is untapped. It needs to be.
When you list those amenities like that, you kind of really sit back and go, wow, it's hard to believe they're all within the one area too. Tony, before you go, obviously, would it have been a rural constituency too? Like farming obviously has to be a huge part of your brief too. You brought up farming in that initial Dáil address too. What are the main kind of concerns and issues that the farmers around Offaly have at the minute, and how are you going about addressing those? Because
there are a number of them, I suppose, and it's too many to go through here this morning. But just to say, the nitrates derogation is something that needs to for Europe to be able to ensure that our farmers will be able to operate as they are at the moment. But obviously, they're working very much towards reducing nitrates on the land. So it's when it goes into the work. But I suppose we always blame the farmer. The farmer is not the culprit in a situation like this here. We've also got to look at our local authorities and the raw sewage that's going into the water, which is causing issues as well. We need to look at that and we need to sort that problem out and not always blame the farmers. Succession for farmers, again, they need to have something to attract young people into it. At the moment, it's very hard for farming families to bring their offspring in because the work is so hard, because they can get jobs paying a lot of money elsewhere in the tech sphere, in healthcare, in and in whatever other job they decide to go for. But it's hard to get. So we need to be able to make that attractive. We need to be put in a pension for them. We need to be able to make sure that it's viable, that they have a livelihood, and they can look at it as something that they want to do going forward. And I suppose I'm lucky that I have somebody like Barry Cowan, who's operating as an MEP in Europe, and he's working very, very strongly for the farmers, because an awful lot of decisions for farming are made in Europe. And so I have a red line, or a hotline, should I say, to Barry, and I can talk to him. So we've been in discussions with the local IDA here, the local IFA. We've also had the ICMSA and other farming bodies as well. So we're in a good position. We're working towards everything that farmers are anxious about getting sorted at the moment. And as I said to you, between myself and Barry, we'll make sure that we'll leave no stone unturned. And
again, nobody knows the scale, but potential shocks like we see, particularly with, say, Kerrygold is the second largest selling butter in the US. So clearly in the farming sector, people will be probably wondering what might come as a result of Trump's tariffs.
Look, a lot of the products,
calls for people to say ratify the Mercosur deal and get it in place, but yet a lot of the farming community would be quite probably on the upside of that fence too.
But I suppose that whole thing, the Mercosur, has gone very quiet. I suppose American tariffs have taken over with that, right? Just to say to you, with the Mercosur deal, the way it's working out is the farm already we're taking in 200,000 tonnes of beef from South America, and it's cheaper cuts. What will be coming in as part of the Mercosur deal is another 100,000. Farming exports, live exports here in Ireland have increased by 6% over the last number of years. We're in a very good position. The price of beef is good at the moment. Price of milk is good. So farming, while I won't say it's in a brilliant position, it's doing an awful lot better than it has been in the past. Talking about Kerrygold and the products going into America with the tariffs, like Kerrygold is a quality product. The people and already, if you go into a supermarket that has Kerrygold, it's not the cheapest butter. And you buy it because it's a quality product. If it goes up by $1 a pound, it probably will still sell the same amount. Also, with the likes of Tullamore Dew and the whiskies, they're premium brands. They're not the cheaper end of the market. So if you're going in and it's your choice of drink, you'll probably pay the extra €2. The funny thing about it, it'll still be cheaper to buy Irish whiskey in America than it is in Ireland.
There you go. Now, well, maybe we should land a big pound of butter and a bottle of Tullamore Dew on the Resolute desk and see does that make any difference in negotiations. Tony, I'm going to tell you to get on your bike. I'll let you out again. Thank you so much for coming this morning, and really interesting perspective on that first 108 days as a TD. Many more to come, undoubtedly, but we'll just get a snippet of the amount of things one has to be dealing with at any one time, including training for a triathlon. Tony McCormack, TD, thank you so much for coming this morning.
Thanks very much, Ronan.
Time now for a quick break. And just actually, Tony mentioned there about revitalising town centres, and there's been some proposals and some figures put forward on how we can, basically get over-the-shop units back into the housing market, create accommodation for people. Great example from Portlaoise too, cited recently, but we'll explore all that with Pat David from IPAV in just a couple of moments.
Surprise yourself with the all-new 251 Suzuki range at Hugo Luna Motors. Suzuki's Japanese quality is ready to stand out and make you feel proud every time you drive. Whether it's the zippy Swift or the adventure-ready S-Cross, enjoy 0% finance, handy tech, safety features and great value as standard, all wrapped in the fun and efficiency of a hybrid. The only tough part? Choosing which car to drive. Visit HugoLunaMotors.ie today, where we're not just different, we're good different. Finance subject to status, terms and conditions apply.
Saturday View, with thanks to Lumclume Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. LumclumeEnergy.com.
Deputy Tony McCormack has been speaking to us in part there about town centre rejuvenation and trying to create that experience that draws us back into our town centres and, re-examine the function and the purpose of our town centres to create new businesses. And a key part of that could be getting people back into living in our town centres, because certainly for somebody my generation, it's probably something we never consider doing, because you always look and say, can we get a house with a little bit of a site, or can we build somewhere a new build? Never did it occur that maybe there are units available above shops and different enterprises around towns. Well, in Portlaoise, in 2017, they compiled a strategy for a better town centre. And one of the aims of that was to get new people, new population to live in the town. That was according to Angela McAvoy, Director of Services over Planning, Regeneration and Economic Development at Laois County Council. That was in a recent statement. And to date, they've brought about 250 units back into action in the town centre as well. So bringing people in, creating new opportunities for people to set up home there and become part of a vibrant town centre. The Hardware Association of Ireland says there's about 20,000 such units across the country. The Department of Housing recently issued a report saying about 7,000 over-the-shop units are available and potentially could be converted into homes of the future as well. Well, the Institute of Professional Auctioneers and Valuers is a representative body for qualified licensed auctioneers, estate agents and valuers and let agents right across Ireland. It was established in 1971 and its CEO is Castle Pollard's Pat David. Very good morning, Pat.
Good morning, Ronan. How are you?
Fantastic. Pat, I suppose like a lot of things housing, we see one number from the house builder saying 20,000 units possibly could be done. Department of Housing saying around 7,000. What's your view on that? Like, are there that many units potentially that could be brought into the housing market?
We've done a lot of work on this, and actually we've taken part in that survey by the Hardware Association as well, which is a great survey and a great idea as well. But we believe that there are actually maybe upwards of 40,000 units throughout the whole country. Not even alone 20,000. Like if you walk down through, as you say, you talk about a figure there for Portlaoise. That's only now it's a good urban area, but at the same time, it's a lot of units for that town. And if you take that right across the country, there are thousands of these units everywhere. Now, nobody knows how many or what density could be used in them, because there's a lot of wandering spaces over shops, as you can well imagine. If you have a shop on the ground floor, maybe you have 2,000 square feet, you can imagine the size of a property above that. Like if you look at an ordinary semi-detached house at somewhere in the region of 1,000 or 1,100 square feet. So there's huge spaces available, and I suppose to get them back into use is the problem. And how are we going to go about it, and how are we going to get people? I suppose number one, the person that owns them. Some of these people won't sell them, don't want to sell them, and obviously they're not going to bring them back into use themselves. But other people will bring them back into use if there's sufficient grants for them, and if there's enough encouragement for people to sell these units. And that's really where we're down to, Ronan. We need to be able to get into a situation where shop owners or property owners are incentivised to sell these units and then allow somebody to bring them back into use.
And is a sale the best, most proactive way forward, or is there options where, I don't know, long-term leases can be done? Because I'm sure like within some of those older buildings, there's probably complexities in terms of ownership, or even maybe buildings overlapping into each other.
Yeah, there is. And I think that the biggest thing is, I think sales is really the only way. It's the certain way to get people back into, because if somebody buys a property, they're going to start living in it, and they're going to continue to be there. And if they move out, they'll sell it, and somebody else will move in once the property is brought up to a standard. But there are many people, and indeed there's lots of complexities with many of these properties that aren't actually maybe transferred from generation to generation correctly. But even that aside, if you look at the low-hanging fruit, there are many of them that are simple, maybe small shop downstairs, maybe a small grocer, or maybe a barber or something like that, butcher maybe on the ground floor, and all this accommodation upstairs. So like things like that, those properties, and a lot of those shops are actually closed, so that the owner of that property can sell it. But if you think into consideration that that property probably many years ago was probably worth 30 or 40,000, and now it could be worth 300,000. There's a huge capital gain tax there involvement, and people won't sell the property and pay that capital gain tax at the current levels of tax. So to encourage these people to sell these properties, there should be some sort of an amnesty first created by the government to give people, property owners, an incentive to sell these properties. And if they do, and if they get that incentive and put the properties on the market, then we're into it. We're playing the game, and that building is going to come back into use. That's really where we need to get, I think, first.
And would things like the vacant property grant come into play then if somebody were able to purchase an overshop unit?
Yeah. It depends on how long it's vacant. That will come into place. Maybe some of them are even derelict, and that one will come into play. But in most of these units, you can only get one of the grants. So, like, what I mean by that is, even if you're going to put 2 units upstairs, you can only get 1 grant. So, and that is, like, you know, in its own, that's fair enough as well. But at least it's a huge start for somebody to get on the ladder to start doing this work. But the main thing is that these units, there's not much point in we looking at them every day of the week and every week of the year. If you walk down through Mullingar, you walk down through Tullamore, or indeed still Portlaoise, you will see still many of these properties. And we like to get them back into use. And the only way you can get them back into use is encourage the sellers, the owners, to sell them. Now, I know the county councils can use CPOs in different areas, but they can only use them if the buildings are derelict or they're in bad shape or something like that. But that the CPOs is a way to go in some scenarios, but it's not the way to go to encourage people to really see that you can sell your property and then encourage the person that's coming in. That encouragement is there in the form of the grant, but it's like putting the cart before the horse. The grant is no good if you can't get the property.
Absolutely. And again, over the years, there's so much talk about people who would maybe love to downsize and move into a town centre location, and undoubtedly this could present a huge opportunity, one that hopefully action can be taken on, and at least do a study, and maybe if it's relaxation of planning or relaxation of certain rules around energy ratings, maybe something can be done, but action is needed anyway. Pat Davitt, as always, thank you so much for taking time out to talk to us this morning.
Thank you, Ronan.
Pat there is, of course, the CEO of IPAV, the Institute of Professional Auctioneers and Valuers. So would you move into a town centre like that if units were available and ready? I mean, certainly it presents a compelling case. And interestingly, as Pat points out, they believe that maybe there could be up to 40,000 units. Imagine if you had 40,000 units with only 2 people in them, or 3 people, how many people that potentially houses. A phenomenal opportunity. Let's see what comes in that over the next while. Well, time for me to sign off on Saturday View, not just for this morning actually, but my 14-month tenure in the hot seat is coming to an end today. But the great news is Sally Ann Barrett will be jumping into the hot seat highly accomplished, well-respected, well-known broadcaster. So Sally Ann will join you from next Saturday. Really looking forward to hearing Sally Ann. You've got a little flavour of her over the past couple of months when she sat in and covered for me here on Saturday View. But for me, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for engaging over the last year, 14 months. It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege. Massive thanks to Nelly, of course, as always, helping there behind the scenes. I'm going to go. Pete Casey's here next with Feel Good Saturday. I'll talk to you all next week on Taking Care of Business.